Okay, this is a bit of a how-to guide for Elden Ring's notorious Malenia fight, a boss which gets hit points back every time she lands a hit, whether it does damage or not. I realise there's a bunch of vids already out there on this, but everyone I've seen so far either seems to be just showing off, stripping naked and running in with dual scimitars or the like. Alternatively, they're just exploiting some AI problem or terrain glitch. This is more a vid for those that would like to come away feeling like they actually beat the fight. Okay, so jumping straight in, there's only one thing you absolutely must have for this, and that's a toon with the ability to roll. Adjust your character's inventory to ensure medium encumbrance or less, no over-encumbered or fat rolling toons. Once that's done, it's just a matter of knowing how to avoid her moves, and that's what I'll focus on now. So first up, the most overwhelming move for people new to this fight, her triple flurry, which she signals by hovering in the air beforehand. For the first flurry, ideally you'll be far enough away when she starts that you can roll, or double roll backwards out of the way, like so. For her second and third flurry, just hold block and backwards the entire time. If there's no wall behind you, this should ensure that her second flurry pings 3 times off your shield, which sets us up perfectly for the third flurry to completely miss us, as you saw. Avoiding the third flurry is important, as at the end, while she's doing her last AoE move, we'll already be out of range, allowing us to either reposition ourselves, quaff a potion, or if we're still good to go, just let off a couple of spells to counter the small amount of life she gained off the second flurry's hits. Okay, next up, during phase 1 she has 2 base moves which she'll use, potentially chaining into other moves afterwards. Technically she has more, but moves like a grab she'll only use if she's too close, or if you're too close, and moves like a long distance stab she'll only use if you're too far away. Assuming you keep a reasonable middling distance throughout the fight, she should only choose from the 2, the blade attack she used on the entrance before the first flurry, and a sweeping kick attack, both easy to see coming and both dodged by rolling away once. Only once though, as it's important to let her choose the next move and then respond accordingly. If we start letting her respond to us, well, we probably won't last long at all. Okay, if she chooses to change some moves after her base attack, which she usually will, we have a couple of options to choose from. We can follow up our roll with another immediate roll. We may need to pause briefly before rolling again, or if we're lucky, we may not need to do anything at all. The pause, by the way, should last around half the time it takes to roll. If you think of a roll as taking 2 beats, then the pause should last 1. Rolling, pause, rolling. And that's really it for phase 1. Every move she chains into you can counter by either rolling or pausing briefly then rolling, and it won't take that many attempts in the scheme of things for it to become muscle memory for you. So with that, phase 2. While she has wings in this phase, she actually uses almost the exact same moveset as phase 1. A few moves have some minor alterations, but there are only really 3 new moves to learn. 1 new base attack that she can use to chain into combos, 1 new killer move which we'll focus on shortly, and the attack which she always starts a phase with, seen here, an overhead slam followed by a killer AoE. To get out of this, just hold block, back and a little to the side. This should ensure the slam misses you completely. If it doesn't, don't panic, just keep your shield up and wait the second attack out. It's not optimal, but at least you won't die. Assuming the first hit does miss you though, immediately run backwards at full speed. After this move, she hangs around doing not much at all for quite a long time, allowing us to position, potion up, maybe let off a full volley of spells. Much like you would have seen at the start of phase 1, I quite like to go quite hard at the start of a phase and play it safe later, but the choice is yours. Okay, time to deal with a big move which she'll do a lot this phase. In fact, she's done it once already just while I've been talking. She hovers high in the air and fires a series of clones at you, some of which hang around briefly to attack you again before she flies down to finish you off with a stab. Now there are complicated ways to roll through this entire attack series if that's your thing, but personally I like to keep things simple, so I found the best ways to roll back and left twice, briefly pause, roll back and left again, block 2 attacks on the shield, pause briefly, and 1 last roll back and left. Keeping all the rolls in the back and left direction allows me to focus on the timing of everything else, which I think is important here, as just one of these attacks can kill a toon which hasn't invested heavily into their health bar. And at this stage, with the end in sight, well, we don't really want to have to start all over again. Okay, looks like she's going back to her overhead slam mover again, which happens a lot more frequently after you take her down to half health in phase 2. But that move combo again for her dangerous attack, as it really is key to surviving this fight, remembering that all rolls are in the back and left direction, is roll, roll, pause, roll, block, block, pause, roll. You might be wondering why we're blocking part of the combo, but the attacks we block are from her clones, and they don't give the boss hit points back if they connect. Really, all we're doing is buying ourselves time until she chooses a different move and gives us an opening for some more attacks. Okay, here it is in action again. We're a little further back this time, so I don't have to do everything perfectly, but looks like she's going straight into it again. So, roll, roll, pause, roll, block, stay, blocking, pause, roll. You may want to re-watch that part a few times to be comfortable with when to block and when to roll. It really is the most dangerous part of the fight. She actually followed up there with the last move to talk about, her new base attack, but as you saw, it's really not too complicated. Here it is again, in fact, and we just roll out of the way of her slow aerial attack, then pause and roll out of the way of her stab. And that's everything. So to sum it all up, the things to deal with are the triple flurries, which start in phase 1, the overhead slam and dangerous clone summoning moves in phase 2, and apart from that, it's all just keeping a nice middle distance between you and her, rolling out of the way of her 2 or 3 base attacks, and then spotting whether you need to immediately roll again, or alternatively pause, then roll. Get these things down pat, and the win is yours. Just while things are finishing up, I should probably talk briefly about why I use a summon. After all, it is giving hit points to the boss, right? Well, that's true, but there are going to be times when you're out of mana and can't drink a pot, as in the time it takes to do so, Malenia will respond by stabbing you in the face. Having a summon can sometimes give that little distraction we need to sneak in a pot, and the hit points the boss gets from the summon is a price I'm willing to pay for that luxury. Additionally, I choose Lootle as he uses an occasional teleport, which, if he activates when the boss is targeting him, is great. She spends her time attacking thin air, gets no hit points at all, and meanwhile we can sink in a chunk of damage. It's certainly not necessary though, and it's really your choice whether you want to use a summon or not. Okay, well, the fight's all done. Hopefully this vid has been at least somewhat useful for you. If you've got any questions, do feel free to leave them below, and I promise to get to them eventually. And yeah, otherwise, good luck with your own fights, and who knows, maybe I'll see you around the Elden Ring neighbourhood sometime. See ya.